What's up, Blayers? Blayers? What even is Blayers? You know what it is? It's a bass. Players all in one word. This is Jesse, and you're watching Jesse TV, specifically Let's Talk Bass. And tonight's show, I'm so excited about it. I've already been hanging out, me and guest bassist Jordan Wright. He's in here. He's just off screen, getting ready to come in, and we're already just chatting each other's ears off about playing bass, our encounters, experiences. So if you're a bass player, you're definitely going to hang out with us. The point of this show, guys, is to give a voice to the bass community. I want to talk about tips, tricks, successes, and screw-ups. So quick plug, if you're a bass player, please, I want your voice to be heard. Put a thing in the comments. If you follow me on Instagram, hit me up, contact me some kind of way, because I want your face and your bass on this show. So there it is. Get to it. Do it now. But in the meantime, I'm bringing in Jordan Wright because I'm ready to get this conversation started. You guys aren't even ready for this. Hold on real quick. Before you even bring him in here, let me just show you. Is this an overlay? Yeah, there he is. Look at him. Just hanging out. I even got me in the background in this thing. Look at him. Looking good. Awesome bass player. He is part of a band that honestly, it sounds amazing. They're really good. Here's a quick shot up close. I like stole pictures off his Facebook. Beautiful looking bass. You got that PJ set up. You can't go wrong. Anyway, there you go. No further ado. Here he is, Jordan Wright. Jordan, thank you so much for being on the show. Man, you have like 18 basses behind you, and it's just, you just roll deep. I see you. I'm checking you out. I'm realizing I was not as prepared as you. I only had 3. Okay, that's all I got. And you just had to come in here with a lot more. I was gonna say something else, but you know, this children might be watching this. But
yeah,
way, a lot more hardware going on. So thank you for being on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Happy to be here.
So give me a little bit. The other day, you came across the show. You sent me a message. What was going on? What was going on? You saw the show. What are you thinking? What made you think to reach out and be like, hey, this is cool. What are we doing? What can we do?
Man, I was just scrolling through Instagram and I saw your posts about what you're trying to do with Let's Talk Bass, and you're talking a little bit about the show, what it's about, what your goals are, and I'm like, man, that is exactly what I want to see. And then I saw you're also looking for people to be on the show, so I'm like, hey, I could talk bass. Like that's something I could talk about for hours. So
yeah,
I'm happy to share stories, knowledge, learn, and just be part of the community, man.
Oh man, well, I'm so glad you're here. And guys, audience, you're watching. Jordan and I were already talking a little bit earlier how just underappreciated the bass community I think has been. And you know, it's one thing to sit around and wish and hope for something to be done, but sometimes this is what I've learned in the little bit of life that I've lived, is that sometimes you got to be the change that you want to see. And I know this is called Jesse TV, but I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be a resource to bring value to bass players, and there be a central hub. What you may or may not know about me, if you followed my Instagram for 3, 4, 5 years, is that I started this concept out with a community called We Play Bass. And I had like 250 Instagram followers at the time. I was playing for a couple local artists, kind of doing some traveling. And I realized like, man, I need to kind of get my online reputation built up a little bit. So let me try to work on an Instagram, but I also love marketing. And I was really thinking about how can I make something that's bigger than me, where people aren't just going to follow me because they love me, but they're going to follow something that they can buy into, that they can take ownership into. And so simple. And I honestly hated the name at the beginning, We Play Bass, because it's not cool. It's not sexy. It's not like alliteration. There's not, I didn't have a cool logo that popped into mind, but you know what it was? It was simple. It was straightforward. And just the name invoked community. So long story short, I want to take that same idea of just rallying around the fact that we're bass players and we're awesome, and bass is an amazing instrument. And if nobody else cares about us, we can care about each other and we can hang out. Here's the hard part. Rarely do you have more than one bass player on stage at a time. So like me and Jordan, we're never going to get to jam out together. It's very difficult to jam with another bass player, but we can hang out and we can swap stories and swap ideas and all that. So anyway, Jordan, stories. So you're playing in a band right now, but take me back to the beginning. How did you end up playing bass? Like most of us, I'm sure you didn't like dream of being a bass player. Maybe you did. I don't know. Hit us with it. How did you end up playing bass?
So, man, if you go back 18 years, I got my first bass when I was 13 for Christmas, because that was kind of that's what I said I wanted. And I'd seen my grandpa play bass a lot. I grew up in church and saw him always playing and just holding down the groove. And also it just so happened most of my friends at the time were either playing guitar, maybe playing drums. And back then, same as today, everybody needs a bass player. So if I want to be in a punk rock band at 13, bass was a great way to get started. But probably what kept me playing was how it really is the best of both worlds. In between rhythm and melody, it's just holding down the groove, but also like pushing it forward with the rhythm and the chord changes and the harmony and the melody. All of it can be in one instrument. And that's just kind of what's kept me fixated on it. Why I've got 5 basses instead of 5 guitars, just because there's so much to it. I love it.
Yeah, that's good. I love that picture that you talked about, like the rhythm and the melody. One thing that I tell bass players when I talk to, or even other musicians, how I've figured out how to articulate it is like my right hand is a drummer. I'm right-handed. My right hand is a drummer, and my left hand is a guitar player. And we get so much freedom that at any moment I'm locking in with that drum beat over here, but I have to move with the chord over here, and so I've got to live in both worlds. But I can go from locking in with a guitar run to rocking with the drummer over here and matching the pattern. And in the let's see, I started playing. You said you started playing around the age of 13. Similar here. I'm not quite as well. Let's see. Yeah, I am older than you. So I've been playing about 22 years now, and along the way, I've actually moved into music directing. So I grew up in church, play a lot in church, and music directing means that I've got a mic. I'm talking to other musicians with inner monitors, and all constantly having to listen to the drummer and know the chords prepared me for this. I didn't start doing it till about 10 years ago. So halfway into my bass playing journey, all of a sudden I realized, like, you know what? I know more than I thought I knew, because other musicians kind of get to kind of live in their world. But us bass players, we're not a good bass player unless we're listening well, unless we're fitting in. Yeah. And I found that actually as I started building my pedal board, and I could hear great guitar sounds. I know what drums are supposed to sound like. So I can teach guitar players a line, or I can hear a line and pull it out of them, or I can hear a drum like, yo, give me this. Let's try this. And I'm not on the drums, I'm not on the guitar player, but being a good bass player, and as you get experience, it kind of helps you really pull music together well. But so tell me what it's like in your band. So guys, Jordan is in a band. It's called Calmerseas, and I peeped his most recent album. Let me actually bring this in here really quick. Jordan doesn't even know I'm doing this. So I pulled up his album from Bandcamp, his most recent one, and I've actually got the link in the description of this video, so you can go check it out. And I got to be honest, I'm not lying to you guys. All these songs are great. It's like Taking Back Sunday / Gimme Eat World with amazing bass in it. So you can't go wrong. And I'm actually going to play a little clip here. This is off the number 6 song on the album called Architects. Parentheses, It's Been Hell, like the album is called. And I just want you to hear this spot. So in this song, in the first like minute, Jordan's just kind of in the pocket, hanging out, like kind of toying with it, just like some low notes. It's just good. It's just solid. But then it cuts out. There's no bass. Then he drops in here, and I was like, what? What is this bass doing right now? It's so good. So I'm gonna play this. Hope you guys can hear this come through.
Don't fear the goodbye, but I don't want it to stay this way.
Bro, so good. Like, come on. I'm like,
Thanks, man.
Listen to that. It's so good. The drummer's good too. The guitar player's good. Tell me about your band. What's going on with the band Calmer Seas?
So Calmer Seas is kind of a super group, if you will, of just bands I've been in previously over the years. So the drummer, Chris Flores, also great audio engineer at Sonar House Studios. Give him a plug there. He and I have been playing together since like 2008. We were in a band in college together for a long time, and then we also played in just other bands randomly, like a bluegrass bands, but mostly we've been doing like the rock and roll thing. So we were all in between bands, him and the singer. I was with in a band called the Feeble Contenders, which also has some great music out there. Josh Cisco, he fronted that band, and that's how I knew him. And then that band just kind of took a long hiatus as well. And the three of us were just kind of in between bands. So I actually started the idea. I'm like, let's just all jam. We're all in the same city. And we started the band. We just really clicked because it's super easy when you've already been playing with people.
Yeah. Where are you guys? What city are you in?
Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. So guys, if anybody's around Austin, actually I got friends. Actually, my twin brother's in San Antonio, and I got an Airbnb unit in Houston. So man, next time I come around, I'm definitely check you guys out. Try to catch a show. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely,
so,
man.
Super group, clearly killing the game. It's awesome. So you've done like the band thing. That's been your real outlet for playing bass. So I know there's bass players out there, and this was where I started too. So I started playing in a worship band in church, in middle school, high school. I don't know how many bands I was in, different bands. I've done cover stuff. I've done other stuff. But as I got older, I've always, for the most part, consistently still played in church. But outside of that, it became more of bass consulting. So doing studio time. Maybe there's an independent artist that got a gig or needs to do a show, and I get a phone call. So like Jordan, you get this as a bass player. Here's the beauty of being a bass player is that everybody needs a good bass player, and good bass players are very hard to find.
That's true.
So just being a semi-decent bass player, I started getting hit up all the time by, this church needs a bass player. This church needs a bass player. This band is doing a gig. Like in my hometown here, I live in Virginia Beach, Virginia. There's several major venues. There's clubs. I've played in almost all of them with a different person and a different genre every time. And all of them, like none of them were the same person or the same genre, pretty much. So it's a really good life. It is challenging, but it's fun. One thing I admire about bands that I honestly don't know if I have the bandwidth for is like that band promo life and working it and getting at it. So what has it been like for you? What would you say for bass players out there that are in bands right now or thinking about doing the band thing? What do you got to tell them?
Oh man, I'm like the worst person to ask, to be honest. If you ask my bandmates, they'll say that I'm the worst at promotion and marketing side because it's such a slog, man. It's because when I'm not doing band stuff, because you know how the band life can be. It can be hot and cold sometimes. You got to have that inspiration. But what's always there are the cover gigs. So I love doing that, whether it's blues or country or pop, whatever. So I kind of focus on just playing as much as I can and being in the band. But I guess as far as just doing the band thing and getting the word out, really like consistent posting, which if you've been stalking calmerseas, you probably see that it's been a while since our last post.
Yeah, your last post was on your birthday, man. Happy late birthday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
I was like, oh, look, there he is right at the top of the page. It was his birthday several months ago.
Yeah. So yeah, we're kind of in like a writing mode at the moment. So we've gone underground, already being an underground band that no one's ever heard of. But yeah, really just like getting the word out there, posting, being diligent. We've seen some success doing paid ads, which I was really skeptical about at first. But our drummer, Chris, he was actually a marketing major in college and has worked at some advertising firms. And like, no, there really is something to putting up some paid ads because it's just a landscape than it used to be. And I kind of grew up more like in the time where you just kind of really put in a lot of work and hope that a label would catch sight of you and throw you on a tour. But really these days you've got to have a strong social media game just to get, or even get gigs for that matter. So really, I guess I'll go back and say one of the pieces of advice for any band is make sure you've got a good EPK, because you can have a Bandcamp like we've got. We have a website on there somewhere and like other social media pages, but what you want is an electronic press kit to be able to just send to a venue when you're trying to get gigs or on a tour. That way you've got everything all in one spot, the bio, a couple songs, photos, all that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's right on. So I was sharing with Jordan right before this video, and I haven't really talked a lot on that channel or show yet because it's new. But I'm a VP of a local music company, local to me anyway. But we work with sending independent Christian artists to radio all over the world, and we also work with major Christian labels as like add-on promo team for major labels like Bethel and Maverick City Music. And for those of you that don't know those names, that's fine. Just know that these are people at the top of the top. So these are the people that are a part of big labels. They have large promo teams. They have more requests than they have time. So they have success. And what Jordan said about EPK is dead on. We actually get paid good money. And this is actually the part that I do in my company is putting EPKs together for our artists.
Oh, nice.
And the industry has actually shifted so much. Like Jordan said, it used to be this thing where you make 5 to 10 songs and you just throw them at the wall and see if something sticks. The game has changed, guys. We have streaming. There's so much music out there. Like Justin Bieber got famous, but once he got famous, the way he got famous got flooded. So now there's a million people on YouTube trying to get famous on YouTube. So you got to be ahead. You got to figure out how things are moving so you can try to get ahead. And what I can tell you is that why an EPK is also important is what I want to say is that paid promotion deal, Jordan, that you were talking about. Is it's now even shifted down to when I talk to independent artists, what's difficult is when they just spend a lot of money on a lot of music and none of it's, I'm not going to say that none of it's good, but I'll say it's not competitive. Music has to be competitive. Otherwise, like grandmother and your girlfriend are going to be the only ones that listen to it because it's cute and they support you, and that's fine. When it's coming to music, I'll say bands, independent artists, bass players listening to this or anybody else listening to this, here's the best strategy you can do. Get 1 or 2 really good songs, and before you waste the rest of your budget in the studio and on flyers and things like that, find a good promoter who can help you build a promotion campaign around your band, you yourself, using the couple songs that you have, because it takes so much to stick out these days. even in my company, it's called Revival Music Company. Our kind of slogan is that it's be heard. We help artists stand out in a world full of music and get their music heard. And there's no shortcut to this. There's no easy way around it. It really takes strategic promotion. And now there is a lot to say about social media. There's a lot you can do with social media, but social media takes a lot of time to build, and it fits alongside promotion. So I got artists or bands that we're talking to. It's like, look, we're going to get a lot of momentum going with promotion, but if we bring people to you and you don't have anything else to keep giving them by way of social media, then it's all going to be money that's wasted. So anyway, I could talk about promotion stuff all day long because I live in that world and that's my business, but I want to talk about work. I want to talk about bass. So Jordan, you have 5 basses behind you. What's your mainstay? Like give me something. Let me see a beautiful bass. What's happening? What's the newest member of the family? How about that?
Newest? All right, that's actually this guy. It's Lakeland, Bob Glob signature. And I changed the pickups to...
Hold on. Let me get you. Can I get you in here by yourself?
All right, there we go. So this is my Lakeland Skyline Bob Glob signature. It's really a solidly built P bass. Lakeland has amazing, just amazing like fit and finish to their instruments. Even the Skyline models, like this is a Korean bass. It is just set up perfectly, plays so well, and I love the black on black. So I'm actually using this for my Jimmy Eat World cover band. And this pickup here is about as aggressive as a P pickup gets. You had a shot of the Seymour Duncan bass lines, what are those called? Quarter pounders in my green bass, which that was what the album was recorded with. They just played, but these pickups are even more intense. So it's just really great for that grindy rock and roll, like playing with a pick, eighth notes, really loud, that kind of vibe.
Just cutting through the mix, just loud and proud, crushing it. I love Jimmy World sound. I mean, that's where that's another thing as a bass player. There's technique and playing the right note, and then there's tone. And I geek out on tone, guys. I'll do a little swapsies. If I don't rip my microphone here. This is my brand new baby. This is a Halo custom, and it's soap bars, but they're EMG X's and they're jazz pickups just in a soap bar style to match the fan fret EMG preamp here, just to match it. And swamp ash body, so it's light. You know, when you get old, like guys, I had a mahogany neck through Ibanez BTB 35-inch scale 5-string. That thing was like wearing a whole tree.
Yeah,
a whole actual tree. And when you're on stage, like especially for church, I was working with this large mega church for a while, and then I moved on to do consulting for worship teams and things like that. But much less practice. By the time you get there in the morning and you do rehearsal and then you do 2 services, like you've been wearing a bass for hours. And that thing, man, I had to do something else with it. And that's when I actually moved to this court that's hanging. If I can get my right here, it's actually I think their lowest model. That I ended up in a relationship with a PR company a few years ago, and it got connected with Court, and they were sending me basses to review on my channel. So actually, you can see review videos of one of the Court guitars. I never reviewed this one because it's like their bass model, but the one right above it that has Mark bass preamps was like incredible.
Oh, nice.
And I had
Mark bass preamp in the bass.
In the bass, like came stock from Court. They refreshed their models and had Mark bass preamps in them. And the thing was ridiculous. And so Court was selling them to me at dealer cost. I think I paid $400 for that thing, and ended up selling it to another bass player friend of mine at this church I was working with. It was just so good, and he just really needed a bass. I was like, all right, I'll just sell it to you at dealer cost, and you can have it. Helped him build a little pedal board, blah blah blah. But That Lackland's gorgeous. One of my
Thanks,
best
man.
friends had a Lackland for a while. I'm like, dude, this thing is amazing. And he had a 5-string. My issue is with like Lackland, they're the same as Fender with the neck width on a 5-string, and I have kind of small hands, and so when I'm trying to get around that thing, like my forearm will be like cranking and
Yep.
cranking up, trying to
I've
get
been
around.
there. Yeah. This one actually, it's got like the wider, like I guess like 1.75 inches, but it's like really thin front to back.
Oh, that's helpful.
And I
That's
like that
super
makes a
helpful.
difference.
Yeah, I worked Halo custom guitars. So if you guys are thinking about Halo, great company, great communication. I will say it took me almost 3 years to get my bass, but I didn't pick any of their out of the box selections, even down to the neck radius and the sizing from from the bottom to the top. Everything was custom, but it's gorgeous. It's amazing. I love it. The low end's ridiculous. It's 36-inch scale on the low B. It's 34 on the high end, and it's amazing. Jordan, do you use pedals?
I do. Let's see.
Do you have your board?
Got my mini board right here.
So conveniently right behind you. Look at that. It's
Yeah.
like fair.
Yep.
It does look like a science experiment, though. What do you got going on for your
It is.
tone?
So, dude, I've been through so many boards and so many pedals over the years. It's borderline embarrassing. But through all that experimentation, I've been able to really figure out what I like. So let's see, just starting at the beginning of the signal chain here, and get this centered up. I've got my tuner, chord pitch black just seems to work the best for me. And then I've got just a solid compressor. And what I went for here was just simplicity. I've had a few different compressors. There's a lot of great options if you're a bass player for compression, but I opted for just a volume and a blend. And then there's just like a mini toggle to select low, medium, or high. So I've got it on the low compression setting, and then I just blend in the right amount of compression and clean signal, and I'm good to go. And then the heart of my tone, let's see, I haven't velcroed this guy on the board yet. The heart of my tone is the Sans amp. And man, I have been through so many preamps over the years, even like giant tube preamps with like 2 or 3 preamp tubes in them, and in a pedal. But really, it just comes down to this is the sound of an SVT, even more so than some of the really expensive tube pedals I've played. This just, you turn it on, sounds like a cranked SVT, and I love it. And then this is the heart of my dirt tone. So really great boutique builder, Fuzz Rochus. Ryan Rataski is the man out of Mount Laurel, New Jersey. And he's been in the game for a while, making just solid dirt that doesn't lose low end. And what I've got here is a custom order where it's a half cattail, which is his rat clone. And I've tried multiple rat clones. Nothing sounds as good as what Ryan makes. And I use it a lot for low gain, but it sounds great high gain as well. And then this pedal is really cool. It's called a lunar reclips. It's there where it's designed to reclip pedals that come before it or after. And you can change this little selector switch. It's got 12 positions, all with different diode combinations. And this just adds a different flavor. Or you can do it by itself, and it's kind of a nice just standalone overdrive or low gain pedal. And then this guy over here is a cab zone, and this does IR, cab simulation, as well as amp simulation. And I've done some different things with that, and I found that's really helpful in a live setting and being able to send a good signal to your engineer. With that cab sim, that kind of cuts the harsh highs that you get from sending like dirt pedals straight to the board, and just like gets kind of the whole package wrapped up nice and neat for the sound engineer. And I like this guy because it's really simple. There's no tweaking. It's just you select the cab you want, you select the amp and the volume. And I've got it set on an 810 with just kind of a clean power amp. And this sounds as good as a vintage SVT in my book when I put it all.
I might have to get with you on that cab sit. I was just looking at some of the day. My issue is I don't think I have any more room on my pedal board. And I have a pedal train PT2, so it's like double stack, wide,
Oh yeah, 3 of those.
over. I've got a DI underneath. I've got an input output pedal underneath. I've got the Strymon power thing underneath. Like I've maxed that thing out, so I'm like, I don't even know if there's any more room for any more pedals. But man, that Sans amp to this day. The first pedal review video I ever did was on my Sans amp, and I just had the large one. It's the same pedal. It just has the three
programmable ones.
Yeah, the programmable. Yeah. It's still to this day by far my most popular review video. Bass players are still watching it, and the thing is a tank. And I'm like you. I started getting like pedal fever, and I was just wanting to spend money on pedals, and I ordered a custom like drive pedal with actual preamp tubes in it, and in anticipation of it coming in, I sold my Sans amp. I got this pedal in, and it was built by a guy I'd been working with, and I worked out an endorsement deal with through Instagram. The company is really great. It's a smoke and amp company. Hadn't really done any bass pedals yet, but he was making good guitar stuff. I was like, would you be willing to try to make something for bass? I just needed to not suck out the low end. And he did the best job he could. It was great drive, but it just still sucked too much of the low. That if I wasn't playing a low B, a 5-string, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal. And was just looking for that straight drive, it would have been fine. But I instantly regretted my decision of giving up that Sans amp. And when I first started playing at the age of 12, the church I was playing in, they had that same Sans amp pedal as the DI. So I was running my Fender Bronco bass, super cheap, just a little lipstick pickup through that Sans amp, and it made me sound way better than that thing actually was.
I believe it, yeah.
Dude, Sans amp.
Honestly, I think that's my third Sans amp. I've
really
sold so many pedals, but I keep coming back to Sans amp.
And I'm pretty sure you can get them on Reverb used probably for like $8. I'm kidding, but I'm also kind of serious. Let me actually Sans amp.
$100 range. Like definitely cheaper than a lot of boutique stuff.
Yeah, and it's a whole DI box too. It's a whole DI. So
I don't use it for the DI because I like the cab sim. I've gotten addicted to IR cab sims now. But yeah, if that's your only pedal, most bass players would probably be fine if they didn't mess with pedals. If that was all you had.
Yeah, the alternative that I've found now, I've moved into dark glass electronics because they
love dark glass
specifically for bass. And at this point in my career in life, after hanging out behind the soundboard with a lot of sound engineers, the point that you made about being able to send good quality to the house is a really good point, because bass players listening to this, if you have any measure of success, or you end up at different churches or different venues or whatever it is, you never know the quality of the equipment, number one, that you're going to find when you get there. And sad to say, and this may be the worst in churches, you never know the quality of the sound engineer behind the board. And I've literally been paid to fly and travel places and end up in venues where I just have to ask the sound guy politely, just give me a flat EQ on the board, and I'll do everything from my board, from my preamp, from my compressor. I have a this hyperluminal compressor. I run it through my preamp. I use their Microtubes Vintage Ultra, which is still just trying to emulate the SVT tone. Like you can't get away from it. But what I love about that one specifically is they have all the settings. They have a low mid and a high mid with selectable frequency ranges there, so you can just really dial it in. Which, if you're new to bass, if you're just trying to figure out your tone, none of that's really necessary. It's only when you really play consistently in a certain environment, you know exactly what kind of tone you want to really cut through. And I'll still mess with stuff. I'll get settled and think I got it. I'll buy different strings and then start changing stuff on my pedals. So everything kind of, I just like having options, but sometimes too many options can be too much. So I love this.
Analysis paralysis.
Yeah, I love the.
Dude, I've kind of come full circle from that. I used to have like just a handful of pedals when I was figuring it out, and it grew to just. I had a bigger pedal board than the guitar players I would play with, which was kind of funny. But then I kind of found myself in the same boat. I'm always tweaking and wanting to change stuff. And I had some dark glass pedals and some other pedals, but I found I was spending so much time bent over tweaking my stuff between songs, whether it's at practice or a show. And this kind of took away from the experience a little bit. So I kind of just opted for as simple of a setup as I could get, where I like dial it in, and then I've got like one that I just changed the blend on the SansAmp, like either more that scoop SansAmp sound or just turn it back for a little bit more flatter sound. And that's about all I touch now.
That's great. And I love how this is different for every bass player. There's no right or wrong. And something I say in my videos is that the best sound is the one that you like the most. And like soloing, you could do a lot different than playing with a whole band. You might, you're what, 4-piece, something like that. So just drums, guitar, super easy to do a lot more with your tone than if you've got 2 guitar players and a piano player, and you'll have to shape a whole different sound. Even because I play with a large variety of different stage setups all the time, I will have to adapt my play style. I have to do something completely different, play less or play more based on what's there and what's not. So that's cool, bro. I love that. I love that pedal board. I wish I could get mine down to that tiny, but with the ambient bass, that's actually most of my pedal board is ambient bass. It's a whole nother
reverbs and delays
just for that. 2 reverbs, 2 delays, well, essentially 3. I will say though that something a little back pocket that sounds amazing is Dark Glass's harmonic booster. I have it on the back end of my chain, and I don't know, maybe the little bit that it does is not worth the price of the pedal, but to me, I don't know, just like the tone, just widens it a little bit, noticeable difference. It makes those highs even more crisp and the lows a little bit wider. And I don't even really know how to explain it. It's just like magic in there.
Yeah,
and
that's your always on pedal.
Yeah, it's always pretty much all of my pedals are always on. I just use the A/B selector to go between ambient or bass tone because I'm like you. I don't want to keep messing with stuff. I want it to be consistent. I want to enjoy playability. So actually, Tapestry Audio is a great company that makes stuff for guitar effects. But I have their volume pedal. But they also have these neat little knob lockers. And it's like you swap out the knob on your pedals with their knob locker. It's basically a knob with a bunch of ridges in it. And it's got an L bracket with like an Allen set screw. So I have knob lockers on all of my pedals that will accept them. And I just have them locked in because I'm going in and out the case. The worst thing is when you travel, you pull it out and your sound sucks and you don't know what happens because
which knob change,
or you're trying to tape everything, or you're using marker to like put where your stuff was. So I've got presets on my delay pedal. I've got knob lockers on pretty much everything else because I would just want consistency in my tone.
So what brand is that?
Tapestry Audio.
Tapestry Audio. Okay, I need some knob lockers. I've been meaning to get some of those.
Let's see. I have their Blueberry. I honestly don't even know. You might have to look on Reverb. I don't even know if they're still around. This was years ago. I discovered that they were still kind of new. We worked out an endorsement deal, and I just started buying all the knob lockers for everything. And I think I found some more on Reverb, but they're genius. Maybe I'll put a link for those in the description here for guys that hear about them if you're getting into effects. But Jordan, I got to have you on the show again, man. We could just sit and hang out all night. They didn't even plan to go this long, but this has been fun. Give me a good story before we go. If anybody's made it this far, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. Please be a part of the community, not just a watcher. If you just got a cell phone or a web camera, then you can be a part. Let's hang out. I want to hear your story, see what you're playing, what you're doing. Let's have a good time. Before we go, Jordan, give us a story. Let the people know what being a bass player is like for you, or has been like.
All right. Well, let's see. So we've talked about tone. We've talked about just kind of like fitting in the band and playing in different scenarios. One thing we haven't talked about is attire. So I've got a story to emphasize the importance of what you wear on stage. So this was back in.
Now, this is assuming we're not doing the Red Hot Chili Pepper attire or Blink-182 attire of wearing a skin suit. So
yeah, family friendly is a given, of course. And this the attire for this scenario are your shoes. So I was playing in the Feeble Contenders with Josh Sisko, who's a frontman in Calmerseas right now. And this was back like 2012, circa 2012. And we were playing at a really cool event. I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a walk for breast cancer. And it was a 24-hour deal. Whereas this was out at Texas A&M where I went to school. And this was a 24-hour thing. And everyone was walking around the track that whole time. And the idea was to have live music that whole time, or some kind of like slam poetry. They had all sorts of stuff. And we got, being the indie rock bands that didn't quite fit the country or pop vibe that they were probably going for, like, all right, you guys get the 2 a.m. slot. So we got the 2 a.m. slot, and it was fun. But it was outside at a soccer field, or with a track around everything. And this was in, kind of central southeast Texas. And it's a bit humid down here, and it can get stages can get a little slick. And this was also back when I was in college. I was really into TOMS shoes, and TOMS shoes have a great cause, buy one give one, all that. But I gotta say, they don't have the most grip, especially if you wear them out as much as most TOM wearers do. And so I was wearing these ratty old pair of TOMS on stage with my rock band. And at the time, and I still am, really into just being really active and energetic on stage. And so I was always really into jumping up and hitting the downbeats after a big silent break or something.
Yeah.
Tim Foreman of Switchfoot, he's one of my heroes as a bass player, and he's always doing that to this day on stage. And so I wanted to be Tim Foreman. And I did that with a lot of success until this one night, wearing my TOMS shoes on a kind of a slippery stage in outdoors. And man, I jumped up after this silent break, and I landed right on cue with the downbeat of the song. It was a real emotional hit. It was like, bam. And then next thing I know, my feet are over my head, and I land right on my ass in the middle of the song. And if it hadn't been 2 a.m. and no one was out there, it would have been really embarrassing. But yeah, so that is my, ever since that day, I've always made a point to wear very good traction shoes.
There it is. Yeah. Did your bass survive? I'm like, what happened to the bass? That was always my nightmare.
It did. No, it's this was the bass I was playing, my oldest bass. And this used to be a Squier bass made in Indonesia that I refinished, put new electronics in it. But it's a really cheap bass.
Yeah, that's good.
It survived all sorts of stuff.
I have not fallen. Man, actually, I've caught myself. So I've stepped back off of a stage, but it wasn't that tall. So I kind of just stepped down and then step back up. I learned a trick early on in life of putting my amp behind me, so I can do the whole Neo in the Matrix. Whoa, yep, almost just died, and we're back. Happened many times, but man, that it's probably better. Sometimes you're grumbling and complaining because nobody appreciates you, and I got the 2 a.m. slot, and then you fall like that. You're like, you know what? It's like somebody was looking out for me. My wasn't completely crushed,
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll take the 2 a.m. this time. You know, we're fine. And we're just gonna not jump around as much the rest of this set. Man, so good having you on here, Jordan. I'm serious. We are gonna hang out again. Guys, listen to his music. Click the link below. There's some links. You can find him, find the band on Facebook, connect with him on Instagram. And again, if you love bass, if you're a bass player, reach out to me, get on the show, hit the subscribe button. Jordan, thanks a lot. Guys, again, thank you so much. The goal of this show is to share tips, tricks, successes, and stories. Hit that subscribe button, and as always, slap that like button like Victor Wooten slaps some bass.